put the slash var www.html/index.html. My words can't get any bigger. I've tried to make them bigger. This is the biggest they can go. So you can zoom maybe on your phone or anywhere, on whatever you're using, and see the code. So you can see when I call back the listing, you can see there's nothing now. So I need to create my own index.html. Those are quite again. Should we continue?
Yeah, you can continue.
Alright. Sorry. On the part of which part exactly? How to remove the index.html?
Yeah, how to remove the index.
So as I said, after you have confirmed, you have installed Apache, you have started it, you have enabled it, you have checked the status, everything is running. Because I'm sure in the paper they may need all those screenshots because all those things might have marks. Then those small things, all of them might have marks. Starting it, enabling it, installing it, checking its status, those records might have marks. That is why when you look at this image, you can see here, just starting part 2, for those who did task 1, those who did shift 1, part 2, you can see starting and enabling Apache, it's 3 marks, installing it's 5 marks. So right now you should be already, you have these 8 marks. Just right now we are going into now the creation of the home page. So after checking the status and it is running for the first time, Apache is running, what you do, you need to understand that Apache comes with a default index.html. But now, after understanding that Apache comes with a default index.html file, you need to know where do I find that file. That file in var www.html, like /var/www/html. That is where we're going to find that Apache file that I'm talking about. Then when you say sudo ls, is going to list everything that is in that web folder or web directory. And this web directory is the Apache default web directory, var www.html. So when you find that index.html that is there by default, you have to remove it and create your own. So you remove it by saying sudo rm -rf, then you put the var www.html stroke index.html, the file you are trying to remove. Is that clear? So you can see when I try to list again, there is no file because we have removed it. Is there any more questions?
I just have one concern. Okay, not actually a concern, but is the papers you tell us that they're answering something like that.
Yes. So what we have just done, right? Enabling, starting and installing. If you look at coursework 1, those who did shift 1, that was the 8 marks, part 1 and part 2, installation of Apache web server, starting and enabling of Apache web service or Apache service. Those are the 8 marks. Installing had 5 marks, starting and enabling had 3 marks. That's what we have just done right now. So I think let's continue with the home page. Is there any more questions before we go to the home page? Okay, let's go to the home page. Okay, the home page is just creating a simple website. If they have not specified for you the website,
no, I'm fine. I've got it.
Yes, please. So when they ask you guys to make a web server, don't overdo it, man. Just go to the file. Just create your name, your registration number, maybe a funny paragraph there, and you are done. The most important thing is that, is it going to show when we watch? Is it going to show when we, where is that image? Is it going to show here? Display your name and registration number on the web page, successful access of the web page through localhost and server IP address. That is the most important part. That is it going to show after creating it? So we shall start here creating it. So what you do after you have deleted the other index.html, you're going to create your own. So to create your own, you just need to open the nano editor. You say sudo nano so that we can edit it at once. Sudo nano, then you open the var www html index.html. Here we are creating our own index.html. So this code is going to open a nano editor where sudo nano space /var /ww /html /index.html. We are trying to create index.html. Then we open now the HTML tags. We close them. Then we shall need maybe to open maybe the body. As I said, guys, don't overput many things. Over header, over title, you don't need all that. Body. Then I can just put my H1, which is going to be maybe my name. You know, I can just put there any name. Let me say that is my name. I close it, H1. Then I put maybe a paragraph having my registration number. I can just say reg number is maybe 23, then you, anything there, evening. Maybe that's my reg number. I close the tags. I have P. Then I open maybe another simple paragraph. I put there maybe a small paragraph there. This is my, maybe I say these are my credentials. Just simple website, you know. You don't have to overcomplicate it. That is my website. Remember, guys, we are working on time here. So the moment we are gonna take a movie in, so just do something simple as long as you prove that it can be seen via browser. And remember, we shan't have a browser. We shall have to use a coding way, which you will see, you know. So after putting now your website, you close. You can say Ctrl X, Y, enter. That is saving and closing a nano file. Ctrl X, Y, enter. There you are saving and exiting a nano file. These are we together. Then here, don't rush on testing the website. Now, this is where I think morning people started getting errors. Don't rush on testing the website when you finish putting it there. Restart Apache. Apache name is there. Whenever you open a config file of Apache, it has a name is there, like it will stop. For you go to check your website, it's showing you errors. Now you don't know, you didn't restart Apache after opening this Canano editor. So after opening this Canano editor and closing it, saving and closing it, I would advise restart Apache, make sure it is running. So I would say sudo system ctl restart.
Timo.
Yes?
Timo, we are not seeing what you're typing. Timo.
Yes, please.
How do we save?
You press Control when you're done with the website inside the Canano editor, yeah?
Yes.
You press Ctrl X, Y, enter.
Ctrl X, Y.
Enter.
You press them at the same time?
No, not at the same time. One by one. Ctrl X, Y, enter. Not at the same time. Just press Ctrl X, then Y, then enter. It will save and close the nano. Yes, please.
You first press Ctrl X. Then Y. Then enter.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So after you have created this website,
Timo, just a minute. I was asking. You press Ctrl X, then you press enter, then you press Y, then you press enter, right?
No. Ctrl X, Y.
This
Yes,
doc type HTML. Even if I don't write it, is it okay?
Oh, it's taking it there. Perfect. Even if you don't write it, that's why I said keep it simple. You can actually in your website, the only thing you need there is H1 and the paragraphs. We are working on time here. Just that me, I had the time. But when you're in an exam, would they? Bugenda to quarter some of us. Now, in the website, we take just yoka heading, your 2 paragraphs, or 3 or 4 if you want. But as long as you put something in your website. Should we continue, guys? So
Yes.
let's continue. So as I said, the moment you close the website, all your codes of the website, don't rush to checking if it is working already. Restart Apache there and then. Because sometimes Apache, whenever you open config files of Apache, it has a tendency of stopping abruptly. Whenever you open any Canano editor file, now you're trying to configure something, it has a tendency of stopping abruptly. I take my background talking that because I saw it is running in the beginning, it has to be running even now. No. When you close the Nano editor, your next code should be sudo restarting Apache. Sudo system ctl. Sudo system.
And Timo,
Yes.
we are not seeing that screen of what you're typing right now.
Scroll down.
Look below. The code is down. Are you seeing down? Sudo system ctl restart Apache. Are you seeing that code? It's below down. That's how that's how the terminal is. I can't really like move the codes up. Or is it a bucket?
Yes, Timo.
All right. So after restarting Apache, check if the status is running. Sudo system ctl. In course upon here, all creation of a simple home page. Here you have just gotten your 10 marks. And you know why they are 10 marks? They are 10 marks because they need you to understand the document root of Apache. They need you, they are expecting you to know. This 10 marks doesn't only include the homepage, guys. This 10 marks includes that var www.html. Like, simple homepage. That's why the 10 marks are coming in. That to do the homepage, you actually need to know Apache's default web folder. You need to know that you have to first remove Apache's default index.html. You need to know that to access it, I have to use stroke var, stroke www, stroke html. That card. So all the 10 marks are coming in. Then now we are going to part 4. This is just one in the browser and display. But for VirtualBox, with the resource limits that are coming in, I strongly believe we are going to be using CLI everywhere. So we are going to do part 4 using command line. We are going to display our name or our web page that we have put there and our registration number using command line. So how do we do that? We go to the command line, we say curl http ://localhost. Localhost. So you guys, can you see that? Are you guys seeing that? Curl http ://localhost. So when that code shows your code that you put in the Nano editor, that means you have successfully shown that your website can be accessed on the browser the moment you put http localhost. http ://localhost. Have we understood that step, guys? So sometimes if this step brings an error, there is usually one troubleshooting way. You forgot to restart Apache after entering that Nano editor. Whenever this code refuses, or http localhost brings an error, curl http localhost brings an error, that means your Apache may be stopped or it's not running. That is the only reason that can happen. So that's why I said, Bomala Warika Ano editor, take Amuzi website, restart Apache, ensure the status is running. So this part of displaying your name and registration on the web page. But they said successfully access your web page through localhost, which we have just done. This thing of successful access your web page through localhost is the same thing as displaying your web page, on the browser. But they said also use a server IP address. So what is a server IP address? A server IP address is one where your local PC is running on. Remember, being able to get a big on internet, guys. So you need to find the IP address that desktop you'll be on is running on. For example, now my PC or any desktop you'll be on, to find its IP address, you'll have to write IPA. Now this code IPA is going to give you the IP address your PC is running on at that exact moment, or the desktop you'll be on, if they have Wi-Fi, which I believe they will have Wi-Fi, you know. So what you want to look for, you can see there are three options. There's this first option, this second option, and this third option. So for you, what you want to look for, ENP. Anything that has ENP on it. You can see the first one is LO, the second one is ENP, the third one is Docker. So for you, what you're looking for ENP. Are we guys together? So under ENP, you want to look for inet or inet to say so. So we are not looking for inet 6, we are looking for just inet. And under inet here, you can see I have an IP 10.0.2.15. So that is the server IP address they are talking about. So in the question, you can see very well they said, instead of using localhost, use that server IP address. So that means instead of using localhost, I'm going to be using that IP address 10.0.2.15. I will say Carl, http://10.0.2.15. I press enter, and you can see I'm still seeing my website. So that means my website can successfully be accessible on the browser using localhost and the server IP address. And I hope you have understood how we have gotten this server IP address. Any questions? Guys, any questions before we continue?
No, not.
Okay. Our web server, Wojimazi. Was there anything else? Nah. Web server, Wojimazi.
What about creating?
Ask us to create a directory, web directory.
Web directory. Actually, the web directory is this one here, guys. Web directory is this one. When you say sudo, ls, then you bring in the web directory var www html stroke maybe ls. Are you seeing? This is a web directory. This is a web directory that has our index.html. This web directory here is the one that has our index.html. If you remember how we created it, sudo nano var www.html stroke index.html. Then it opened the nano editor where we put our website, which is basically our website, this web index.html, which is basically now our web directory. Web directory is the same as folder, you know. So I think that is it. If there's any other questions. Now, I also get a question, guys, about virtual. Won't they tell us virtual hosts? Won't they tell us what to create users? Won't they tell us to create over what else? What else? Guys, those things, don't let the take home shadow you. Those things are needed if you're going to have like a real working website that is going to be needing like so many domains and all that. Guys, the paper is 2 hours. This paper is not 5 hours. Bringing in those things like you want the paper to be 5 hours. This paper is 2 hours. You just need to know everything we did in coursework 1. Remember coursework 1, it was just coursework 1, but the paper was it 1 hour, 1.5 hours, something like that. But imagine now we are going to be having only 2 hours to do everything we did in coursework 1. So again, I'm going to manage the whole coursework 1. One thing at least I know, though I'm not sure, but at least I know 90%, you can't fail to get 30 and above if you know the whole coursework 1 very well. Like if you can do the whole coursework 1, you alone without looking at AI, you can't fail to get marks in that paper. Okay. Is there any questions, guys, before we continue to the? So now, as I said, yes, please.
I mean, my okay, not even a question, but is there any other thing they can ask from the website creator? Like any possible question.
So, as far as I can say, for web server, the most important thing is to have a website that can be accessed on browser. So I can frankly tell you there's nothing that I see can be asked apart from that.
Okay, thank you.
So DNS. Kata DNS again
No.
Yes.
I don't know where we get the IP after you putting in IPA.
So
that command it brings.
Okay, yes. After us putting IPA, it will give us 3 options. You know, you could have 4, you could have 5 options, but for you, the option you want to look for is an option that has ENP on it. You know, it's multicast something, but you don't need to know it in full. But what you need to know, you want to look for ENP, the option that has ENP on it. You can see the first one has LO, the second one has ENP, the third one has Docker. So you don't want Docker, you don't want to look back. You want ENP, this broadcast here is what you want. So under ENP, it might have init 4, init 6, just init. So we are looking for inet, whereby there's no number, it's just init, just like that, INET. That's what we are looking for. So you get that car IP. Now, that car IP is the IP that your server is running on, or your local PC. Your IP address that your local PC is running on right now. Remember, any device that is connected to Wi-Fi must be running on a certain IP address. So this is what we are talking about. This IP address is what our local PC right now is running on, or our Wi-Fi is what is connected to. So that's why this 10 that you're seeing under init here, under ENP, then you look for init. This IP at 10.0.2.15 is what we put here. Instead of localhost, we use the server IP address, which is this. Does that answer you?
Yes, thank you.
So that IP should also show your website that you created, the other side. Even localhost should still show your website. If I can bring back localhost, it should also still show our website. You know, both localhost and server IP address should be able to show your website. That is confirmation of web server. Yes, please.
What if they say install a firewall on that web server?
They're not going to ask those things. They were clear. Web server, DNS server, and database server. Do not learn things that are complicated that won't help you.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Because I'm firewall man. I tell you that paper I had it's gonna be 2 hours. 2 hours are not enough at all for all those things. Whatever course work one or just one server, it took us about 1 hour. So now 3 servers. That's why I'm saying, if as long as ogenda mu paper ngomanyi coursework yonna, you cannot fail to get above 30% out of 40. Yeah, I think it's out of 40. Yeah, you can't fail to get 30% and above. Is there any questions on web server, guys?
No.
Okay, so DNS. Now DNS, you're checking the caller that instead of using HTTP localhost, instead of using HTTP 10.0.vichivichi, for it is going to give a name to that IP. That instead of using HTTP, I can use HTTP www.wilbur.local. I can use a name. I can use HTTP wilbur.local. You know what I mean? I can use HTTP maybe carol.local. I can use HTTP www.carol.local. I can use HTTP mail.carol.local. So given now this task 1, I'm going to use this same web server to do DNS. For example, if I go back now to our questions of coursework, the DNS question, I think I also did DNS in this coursework. Yeah, so you can see our DNS questions. Of course, install DNS, configure a forward lookup zone, install 4 host records, create 4 host records, blah, 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 blah. Then properly save and validate DNS configurations. Restart DNS service, test name resolutions using a command zone that you're going to configure. Now create at least 4 host records. Now also here, you need to know the config code that opens where you can create the host records. They needed like 4. So what do they mean by they needed like 4? For example, you see the main, for example, let me say the main local domain is maybe wilbur.local. So for host records, what they mean, they want us to create maybe www.wilbur.local. That's the first host record. The second host record they mean, maybe I can include mail.wilbur.local. That should be the second. The fourth one, I can include maybe bbc.wilbur.local. That can be my third. My fourth, any name before wilbur.local becomes a host record. That's what they mean. To say, I can say wsa.wilbur.local. That becomes a host record. You understanding, guys? We shall just see how to create them and all that, yeah? Then after creating them, you also have to go and add them in the main hosts, which we shall see. You'll have to go and add them in the main hosts so that DNS can be able to, validate them and all that. Then probably save and validate DNS configuration. Now, this is just confirming DNS is working, Through, you can use NS lookup. They put it down here, but part 4 and 5, 6 should be like the same. So validating DNS configuration, you just need some codes to make sure that your zones are okay or your syntax is okay. We shall see all those codes, guys. Then restart sudo systemctl restart DNS. Test name resolution using commands such as NS lookup. We shall see all that, guys. Any questions before we start, or we should start?
I think let's start.
Okay, let's start DNS. So they're saying DNS. Of course, the first step you need to know what service are you installing for DNS. And as I said, guys, we use the same code to install any service on Ubuntu, which is sudo apt install. Then you put the service there. Those who started with me, you put the service there, -y. This code installs any service on Ubuntu. For this time, the service we are using is bind9. And of course, for my case, I already installed it. They will tell me it's already installed like that. So for your case, if you haven't installed it, this is the code you will need. Sudo apt install bind9 -y. Are we together?
Sorry to interfere, but on this service, is it like given in the paper, or you just create it yourself?
Okay, it may or it may not, because in this paper, I don't know if they gave it in this paper, by the way. No, you can see this paper, they didn't give it to you. They just said install a DNS server. So they need you to know that for a DNS server, we need to use bind9. Yeah. So you install that service. If you are lucky and they give it to you, you'll be very lucky. But Nabola web server, they will need you to know that you need to know that you can use Apache. Nabola database server, they need to know that you can either use MySQL in Docker or you can use MySQL on Ubuntu. We shall see both aspects.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Yes?
How come you didn't first update before you began installing?
We already updated.
Okay.
If it's a good practice anyway. If you want to update. It's very. But for me, for my PC, I already updated anyway. I've been updating a lot, so there's no need to update. But it's a good practice. What you've said is a good practice. Before you install a service on Ubuntu, it's better you first update. You don't need the upgrade. Updating is the most important. But if you did it in the beginning, you don't need it. But for just good practice, you can include it. Any more questions, guys?
Not really. You can dive in.
All right. So let's continue. So now that part, after installing bind9, you already have Vmix according to this DNS. Here you have already gotten the Vmix part 1. So the next step is configuring the lookup zone. This is the next step here, guys. Is configuring this forward lookup zone. Okay, I don't know, they use a lot of English there, but what a forward lookup zone is, it opens, use that method, yeah? So we are going to, that forward lookup zone is where now we are going to declare our domain. Is where now we are going to declare our domain that we are going to manage. It's called a forward lookup zone. So the thing here you need to cram, all you need to know is the code that is going to open that config file. Very important. The code that is going to open that config file. And one cheat code I can give you every time you open a config. One cheat code I can give you every time you open a config file in Ubuntu and you find there nothing, you are in a wrong config file. Get out. That means you have put a wrong code. Config files in Ubuntu usually always have some pre-configured codes in them. You are the one now supposed to do maybe some changes or certain changes, something like that. So here you need to know the code that is going to take us to that config file that is going to open where we're going to put our lookup zone, or our domain that we are going to manage. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we are going to say sudo nano, sudo nano etc bind it is sudo nano etc bind named .conf .local. So guys, this syntax is going to be opening. This syntax here is going to be opening a file or a config nano editor where we're going to be putting our lookup zone. That code you are seeing right there. I hope we have gotten the code. I can press enter.
Excuse me, Tima.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm just asking or inquiring about something.
Yes.
There are some times whereby you can write that code, but you don't have your folder. But you had not created a folder, so it is better you first create a folder, then you write that code later.
By the folder, which folder exactly would you be talking about?
For example, I can see here you are using a live server for your OS, for your ISO file. Then for us who are using the one of the other one which displays the green stuff, when you enter that code and go to the nano, it will first tell you that you had not created a folder whereby your zone is going to store your information. So what you have to first do, you have to first create that folder, then you come back to this code.
So it wasn't accepting creating a folder after, because I believe it's the same.
When you enter this code first, it will need you to first create a folder for example, for where you're going to be coding your records from. For example, that etc bind.
Wait, that Linux you are saying, is it the same we used in coursework 1?
Yes. It's the ISO we are using, most of us.
Yes, it should work, guys. It should work. Because I will, now for my sake, I'll create the folder after. For my sake, I'll have to create the folder after. But all methods work, guys. All methods work. You can create it before, you can create it after. They should work, because that's the same method I used during the paper. It should work, guys. I think we should continue. Is there any questions, guys, before we open this config thing? All right, let's open it. I think guys already have the code. So as I said, I'll remove this zone that I had created before, then I'll create a new one. So as I said, guys, Ubuntu config files usually come with pre-configured code in them. So you find that you have to just do some edits in those configured files, or you're adding some code, or you're replacing something, or you're editing something. Yeah. So what I'm saying, for example, if I had made a mistake, if I had maybe made a mistake in this code, for example, maybe instead of named, I wrote name, yeah? Maybe I forgot the D. the way this is, just know you're in a wrong file. Get out. You may not realize it because for it will show you no error. You just start putting your zone. Kumbe your zone, you're putting it in the wrong config file. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you open a config file in Ubuntu and you find nothing there, just know you are in a wrong file. Get out and look for the error maybe you made somewhere and enter the right config file, you know. So I'll Control X here. So I'm going to be calling back the code. I say name.conf. So I'll be entering my lookup zone editor where I'm going to put my zone. So this zone, the simple explanation I'm going to give you. Let me first write it. You say zone, open quotes. Now here it's where you put now what you want to call your main thing, like your main domain. That's how I can say it. So maybe let me say I want to use maybe eric.local. I can say Eric. It can be your name, guys. It can be, oh shit, I've done a mistake, sorry. It can be your name, guys. It can be your name. Zone. I put the quotes. I put Eric.local. .local, not slash. .local. I open brackets. You open these brackets. Then you put is it type master. You just need to understand what it does, but the code itself, you need to like program it. Yes, please.
Pardon on the brackets you've used.
Okay, they look funny here, but the brackets I've used are these ones. I don't know what they are called.
The usual ones.
You see where there's letter P, yeah, on the keyboard. Now they connect P, those brackets. Those brackets on top, eh? Those are the brackets. Oh. Yeah, I just don't know what they're called, but those are the brackets you use. File, open quotes. Then I put my etc. And another thing, guys, I understand that some of you maybe might have been taught or might know a different method of doing bind. Now, for me, what I'm doing, I'm explaining my method. So if you have a different method and for sure it works, don't dwell on my method. But if you have your method and it works, and for sure it works, you should stay with your method. Don't confuse yourself with my method. Signed. Now this is defining now our directory. Zones db.eric.local. Then I will terminate this. I will close the brackets and also terminate. You just need to make sure you have not done any mistake. Zone, open quotes, eric.local, type master, close, file, etc, bind, zones, db.eric.local. That is it, guys. So the simple explanation I can give you here. This is on what it does. It's like you're telling Ubuntu that eric.local is going to be our main domain, and all the records in eric.local are going to be in db.eric.local file. Okay, just like a simple explanation, but what you need, guys, since you know time and all that, you just need to cram the code. But the most important thing, you need to know, how did I reach here? Like, what config code did I write to open where I need to put this zone, this lookup zone file, or this lookup zone code? That's the most important thing you need to know. Like, how did I reach here? What code did I use to reach here? Because you might know this zone code, Nenga, you don't know how to reach there. You know, like, you don't know where you have to put it. So you need to know that code mostly. And you know how to put it. So those should be, I think, the 4 marks, configuring a forward lookup zone. Those should be the 4 marks. So you know how to get out of a nano, Control X, Y, enter. That will save and close the nano. So as I said, guys, every time you open a config file, every time you open a config file of a certain service, make sure you restart that service. Whenever you open config files of certain services, those services tend to, I don't know how I can say it. those services, they tend to stop abruptly at what target day. So whenever you open any sensitive or any config file of any service, make sure that service is still running, or you can just restart it. Because when you restart it and it works, that means it's running, of course. So we shall say sudo system. This is to avoid future errors, guys. This is to avoid future errors. Sudo system ctl restart bind 9, yeah? So the moment it restarts, that means officially it's running. I even don't need to check the status. That means it is running, of course. So after that, we now need to do the host thing, you know? Because right now what we need to do, we need to open the zone file that where we are going to put those host records that they are talking about. Is there any question, guys, before we continue to the host bichi, those things? Any questions?
Maybe.
Yes.
Kindly requesting for pardon on that zone.
On the forward lookup thing, yeah? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Give me a second. I don't know, guys. Some people are saying they can't join the call. What's wrong with the call?
We are full. We are over 100. So, like, one person has to leave for another to join. I'd also failed to join.
So, okay, you mean this thing limits?
Yeah.
Yeah, it limits 100. The free version.
What are we going to do? Also, Zoom. What I know with Zoom, it limits time, right?
No, you ask me to give us the one for school.
Who can give us the one for school?
Steve.
No.
Okay, is there anyone who can access that person? Or we continue?
I think I will be taking them. Okay.
That's okay, but very well.
I will be taking them. That's okay,
Boy, you get the 7.
When I get to
guys, I don't know what I can actually. The only thing I can do for sure, Angasibali India, is to continue.
Yes,
but if there's anyone who can give us that Zoom link, I'll be happy to receive it.
But Zoom also limits. This one is even better than Zoom because Zoom better timer all that.
What Gambia or what was say yes me?
Yes, so totally administrator. You cannot access.
But your Steve what ways is yes, so material limited, like the ones we use for class. Yeah.
Oh my God. So is there any way we can access it or we continue?
Okay. We continue.
Okay.
Time is running.
So remember the next step, guys. We need to. Yes, I'm continuing. So remember, guys, the next step we needed to add the hosts and all that. But before you add the hosts, now this takes me to the person who was asking about creating a directory and all that. Creating the zone directory and all that. Yeah. So to put in the host, we have to first create the zone directory. We have to first copy the default or move the default. Remember, bind comes with a default. How should I say it? A default zone directory. You know, so we need to where it keeps the host. So we need to make sure that this file here, this directory we have put in our lookup zone, etc bind zones db.eric.local, is the one that is actually going to have the hosts. So now to do that, remember, bind has a default directory that keeps those hosts. So but for us, we need this one here that we have created in the zone lookup to be the one to keep those hosts that we are talking about. So the first step, you need to first create the zone directory or the zone folder. A directory, guys, it should be the same as a folder. You should know that. So we are going to say sudo mkdir etc bind etc sudo mkdir etc bind zones. So the reason here, guys, you are saying cannot create directories because me I already created it when I think I was doing bind somewhere. But you need to create that directory, yeah? The reason me they are showing me that it already exists because I already created it somewhere, guys, yeah? It's not that it's not that what? It's not that it has refused to create. No, it's because I created it already. So that's why they're telling me cannot create directory, it file exists. Have you guys understood that step?
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Now, pardon? The next thing, remember, as I said, bind9 comes with a default directory where it keeps its hosts. But remember, we want to use our own host stuff. We put in the lookup zone. The lookup zone I'm talking about, the name.conf. Yes, please.
Thomas, I've sent you a link of Zoom. It's working. So I'm thinking maybe we can use that. I got it from the school thingy. You get.
Okay, guys. So guys, re-change to Zoom.
Let's try
No.
to your name.
If the link is functioning, let's join Zoom.
Okay.
You can put the group to join very fast.
But
so Zura, you can share that link to the WSA group.
No, do you realize that you have to start afresh?
No, not you. You don't have to.
No, you don't have to start afresh at all. You can start from where we stopped. Okay, let me this call.
So it will take you to a different layer.
She should share that.
I've already put it in the BBC group, so you can all access it from there.
Recording in progress.
God. So I hope my screen you can see it. Yeah. Zura, first confirm
Yes.
you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm seeing it, Thomas.
All right.
Yes.
All right, that's okay. Yeah, to what they were. Wait, I want to first remove this. Okay, let's start. So as I was saying, guys, I was on the step of oh my god. So where were we? We were on the step of we had finished creating the directory. We are now on moving the default directory that bind uses the default directory that we are in our lookup zone file. How do I remove this green line? All right, let's continue. I don't know. Should we wait for people while we start? Another anyway, should be okay. I'll just try to.
Over you text in group over
Maybe first wait a bit because they'll tell you.
I'll just wait. I'll just wait like for. Let's wait. I'll just wait for like some small minutes. Okay. Hey, we should start, right? We should start, huh?
I think we can start if a number of guys have joined.
Oh, so we are still on. We are still on what? Bind 9. If you can check our file again, I was still explaining on sudo nano. One check our file etc stroke bind stroke zones stroke
Timo.
B. Yes, please.
Most of us went offline when you had not started this bind thing.
Sure.
You have unplugging out, plug this out.
Okay. Sudo nano etc bind zones EB. Okay. It's Wilbur. It should be Wilbur. So you're not right there on the part of installing bind and all that. Anyway, let's start again. So guys, as I said, bind. Okay, they won't tell you bind. They will just configure a DNS server that can resolve your website, something like that. So you need to know that first of all, you need to know the service you're going to use, which is bind 9. So of course, the first step, you have to install it. You can sudo update. Since I restarted my VM when we were trying to shift to Zoom, I'll just sudo apt update here very fast. So you need to know the service that works with DNS, which is bind 9, guys. Yeah. So after knowing that service that works with DNS, which is bind 9, you need to install it. And we all know we use the exact same code to install any service on Ubuntu. We just need now to change the service as well. We say sudo apt install bind 9 -y. Yeah. So that code is going to be installing all services in Ubuntu. So instead of bind 9, you write Apache 2. Instead of bind 9, you write MySQL Server. Instead of bind 9, you write Nginx, whatever service you want to install. You say sudo apt install bind 9 -y. So that is going to be installing for you the DNS server. So it's now your responsibility to make sure that server is running. Sudo system system ctl status bind 9. You can see it's actively running. So what we have just done there, guys, should be able to answer the question of installing DNS server, the formats. Now configure forward lookup zone. Now that is what we went to, I think, next, right? So now you need to know the config file that opens that lookup zone, where you're going to declare that domain you're talking about. You will say sudo nano etc bind etc bind md.conf.local. So guys, that code is going to be opening. Those who want to see the code, sorry, I might have been fast. That is the code below there. If you look below, that is the code. Sudo nano etc bind named.conf local. Name.conf.local. Don't forget the slashes. Don't forget the nano, the required spaces. Now that code will be opening where you will have to put the lookup zone. So this is the zone below here. And I said it declares the domain you are going to be using, which is eric.local. And as I've advised, let's use local. this zone now, remember when you open the file, these commented lines will be there. These upper commented lines, these are commented lines or commented commands, should I say. They will, by default, they will be there.
Hey, can
Yes,
I see the code again, please?
That opens the file?
Yes.
It is there. You can see it below there. Look below, look below. You can see it, huh?
Yes, thank you.
So when that code opens, for the first time, of course, that zone will not be there for the first time. This command that starts from zone, you are the one who puts it. It won't be there. When it opens for the first time, you will only have these commented lines until where you see the word include. Those are the only lines you will be having by default. Or if maybe you're in the second shift and maybe some people have already done bind, you have to delete this zone and create your own zone. Hope guys we have understood there. So you create that zone, Eric.local. You can use your own name. Of course, I think we shall be using our own names or anything you feel like, But I would say any name you use, put a .local on it to be uniform, because we remember the files themselves by default have a .local. Like, for example, the default config file of bind is db.local. So when you use .local, DNS is going to be, you want first main, you can use .com, but why I'm emphasizing .local, because even by default, bind 9 especially, uses .local. So you'll find that togenda funa errors nyingi. I think that things will a bit be flowing if you use .local and understandable and more understandable. But you can use .com, but I would advise use .local. So, where you put type master, as I said, type master, you have to cram it after putting the zone. Then file etc is where our hosts are going to be. And I said by default, bind 9 keeps the hosts in db.local. But we need to change from db.local to db.eric.local. Eric.local, which was our main domain that you're going to be working with. We are going to see how that comes in. So after creating that zone file, you will save and close the nano. We all know how to save. Control X, Y, enter. Control X, Y, enter. So I'll just exit this. So now after exiting, yes, please.
Nga, you didn't show us how.
How to? Pardon, I didn't show you how to. I didn't hear the next thing. What question? I was about just network. I didn't hear the next thing. I didn't show you how to. I didn't hear that next thing. Will I?
I'm saying, you gave us the code of entering into that configuration area, but now real creating of the zone is what we are on. Because I'm even seeing Eric.
Okay. And then, as I've said, a lookup zone just defines the domain you're going to use. And I've said for good practice and to avoid errors in the future, whatever domain you're using, make sure it is .local. Because even by default, bind 9 comes with db.local. We shall see how we are going to change all that. But for now, this question, by default, don't have this zone file there. It will just be empty. You will just find these commented lines by default. These commented lines are the ones you will find there by default. So this zone is you who does it. Is you who puts this car code, this car zone code here. The domain that you're going to work with and the directory where the hosts are going to be saved of your domain. So you just need to know that code. Just make sure you don't make errors in this code. Once you make an error, maybe instead of zone, you write zones, bind 9 will stop. That's why I said every time you enter a config file, of a certain service, make sure you restart that service. If you make a mistake in any config file of a certain service, that service will abruptly stop. Or for any errors, then maybe you get frustrated and all that, blah, 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 and everything comes along. But whenever you finish doing anything in a certain config file of a certain service, restart that service. So after doing that forward lookup zone, where we're going to declare the main domain that we're going to be using. You save and close, Control X, Y, enter. So we're going to now restart bind 9, yeah? Sudo systemctl here. Restart bind 9. Yeah, that should restart bind 9. The moment it restarts successfully, of course, by default is running. Now the next thing was, I think, to do the host names, if you remember. Oh, sorry about that. You didn't need that. The next thing was to create the host names. But remember, to create the host names, as I said, you need to first create the zone directory or the zone folder, where you have to use that code of mkdir. You know, you say sudo mkdir bind zones. So for me, of course, it's already created. That's why you're seeing, or like already created, something like that. That's why you're seeing it here. They keep telling me it's already created because I created it before. But for your sake, of course, it may not be created. You have to create it. And I want to take note of something, guys, here, that you realize that every config file I'm opening, I'm using bind. I'm not using bind 9. I'm using just bind. Don't forget and put bind 9. Realize that every config file I'm going to be opening, I'm using bind 9. Let's take note of that. I'm not using bind 9. I'm just using bind. etc bind zones. etc bind. I'm not saying etc bind 9. Okay, according to me, that was the error I was making when I was practicing. That is the error I made a lot. I was writing bind 9, yet to open the config file, you actually just need to write bind, not bind 9. So, now remember one thing I told you. In that lookup zone, we configured something. If I open it again, you see this directory here that has the word file. Now, this is our directory we want to use for our domain, where we want to put our hosts. But then, bind 9 it comes with a default directory where it keeps its own hosts. So what we want to do, we want to move that directory from being used by bind 9 for bind 9 to use our own. So again, it's like we want to rename, okay, I should say something like that. We want to use our own file that we created in the lookup zone. So the next code here should be making sure bind 9 uses our own directory where we are going to put now the hosts, those 4 hosts they said, whatever. So we shall say sudo cp. Now we bring in the default directory that bind uses. Sudo etc bind db.local. This is what it uses, but then we want to use our own. So your next code, you put this directory that you created in the lookup zone, which is etc bind.
We are not seeing what you're typing.
Look below, you should be able to see it. db.eric.local. Are you seeing it now?
Timo, I'm sorry for disturbing you. I'm inquiring about something. Are you creating the DNS record or you are creating the zone file?
No, after creating the zone file, you are now going to create the DNS records. But remember, create the DNS records. Bind 9 comes with a default directory where it creates the DNS records. But remember, when we are creating the lookup zone, when you're creating this lookup zone, we created our own directory where we want our records to be saved. So for us, this is the directory we need to use. But then bind 9, as I said, bind 9 comes with this first one here, etc bind stroke db.local. It comes with a default directory that it uses, which we have to change from it to use our own that we put in the lookup zone. So realize that this second directory is the exact same directory we used up here in the lookup zone. We want to use our own zone, not the one that bind comes with. That is what we are trying to. That's why we have to include that code. It changes from the default directory to use our own directory that we have used. So now, this directory is where we are going to put our own DNS records. And to do that, we just need to open this folder or this directory. You know, by saying sudo nano, of course, sudo nano. Then we bring in the etc bind zones. Because right now we have already changed it to user on. That's why we're now calling it so that we can add our DNS records. Sudo etc bind zones db. I think .eric, yeah. I hope I'm writing it correctly. Eric dot local. Sudo nano etc bind zones db dot eric dot local. So when we open this file, this is what we are going to find. We are going to find some DNS records already configured, but of course we shall need to change them to our own. You can see they are still using localhost. We need to change to our own, which was is it eric.local? Yeah, even this root localhost, we need to change to our own. So now when you open this file, guys, you just need to know the exact edits you need to do. When you open this file, this is what you're going to find in this file. But you as you need to know, what do I need to leave and what do I need to edit?
Timo, sorry for taking you back. Sorry for taking you back. Sorry for taking you back. Something small what I'm asking. All over that part of after you restarting bind 9, the next code is sudo mkdir.
Yes, creating the zone file. Yes, the zone directory. Sudo mkdir etc bind zones, right?
Yeah, after you write, after it running.
Yeah. That's the next code. After you restarting bind.
Okay. Wanga, you said after updating, you install. After installing,
yes.
Status. After the status now.
After installing status, yes. After status.
After status, you say sudo nano etc down. We are entering the configuration mode. The other part of adjusting what?
You state the code. State the code.
The sudo nano etc. So config.local. Is it?
It is sudo nano etc bind named.conf.local.
Yes.
There is where now you're going to put the lookup zone.
Yes.
Right? Then after that, you restart bind.
After that, you restart bind.
Yes, you have to make sure by every time you open a config file, make sure you restart that service.
Okay. So now after
when you are closing, like getting out. After restarting, of course, automatically it will be running. You can check the status, it will be running. If it restarts like successfully, yeah, you check the status. If it is running, now you move on to creating now the zone directory. mkdir etc bind zones.
Sudo mkdir, right?
Yes. Stroke etc, stroke bind, stroke zones. Then when you're done with that, as I have said, bind 9 comes with the default directory where it keeps its records. But we remember in the lookup zone, we already declared our main domain and our directory where we want our records to be saved for that main domain. So you have to change the default directory that it uses with our directory that we declared in the lookup zone. So that directory is the db.eric.local. If you look at this code here, I'll put it down here, this code, sudo cp etc bind db.local, then etc. This second directory here is the same exact directory we have in our lookup zone. So we want to use this. That's why we are calling it. That's why when I press enter here, the next code will now be calling our directory after making sure we have changed it from the default. Have you understood? So from mkdir, this is your next code. This CP code is your next code. Okay?
Yes.
We should all know where eric.local is coming in. db.eric.local, we should all know where it's coming in from. It's coming from the lookup zone we configured. Then after the CP code, your next code should be now this nano code that calls our directory that we have, that we created in the lookup zone, yeah? Which is this one here, this second one here. You call it. Now when you press enter on it, it will be opening this nano editor. Now, inside this num editor, this is where now we had reached, You need to do some simple edits in this file. They're just edits you need to do. You don't need to delete anything. You just need to do some small edits. They're not small, since we have, because the question, if you look at the question, guys, the question needed us to create 4 host records, which realistically is okay. You have to create more than like 2 hosts, something like that. So we are going to make sure we have our 4 host records inside this file. And also after creating them, guys, we don't end there. These records have to be resolved by DNS. So we need to go in the hosts config file and also include those records there. We shall see how, but for now, let's first put these hosts in our zone config file. So now here, guys, when you reach this step, or this file, you just need to know what edits and where do I do these edits. That is the only thing you need to know here. Because now this file has some science. There are some things you need to edit very carefully in this file. If you don't, DNS will never work. If you edit this file wrongly, your DNS will never work. That's what I can assure you. If you edit this file wrongly, your DNS will never work. So now this one, I don't know if you're going to write it somewhere or cram it. I don't know what you're going to do. Because now according to me, I crammed what I'm supposed to edit in when I reach this file. Or I know what I'm supposed to edit when I reach this file. So this is how the file is going to look, guys, for the first time. It's going to have localhost. Are you guys seeing this localhost dot? Can you guys see that? Localhost dot?
Yes. Yes.
So what you're going to do, you're only going to remove the word localhost. I want you to be careful. You can see I've left there the dot, right?
Pardon.
It was like this, local. This is how it was with the localhost dot, right? So what you're going to do here, you're going to remove the word localhost. Not the dot, it's localhost dot. So you remove only the word localhost. You keep the dot there. Now, before that dot, you're going to write ns1.eric.local. That's the first edit we are going to do. All right? So you guys realize our last dot is still there. ns1.eric.local. Have you guys realized that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are seeing what we are doing. All right. So the next edit we are going to do. Are you seeing this word root? The word root. We are going to remove it. I hope people are following, because this is the most important file in DNS. When you do an error here, your DNS will never work. So I hope people are following.
First, pardon, before you do the root, was there a word that?
No. It will just be root.localhost dot. So what you do, you're going to remove the word root and put admin, okay? And put admin. So it is now admin.localhost dot, right? So you're also going to remove this word localhost and put eric.local. Now I want you to be clear on something. You can see my last dot is still there. Admin.eric.local. Have you guys seen the change we have made there? Before it was root.localhost. But right now we have changed it to admin.eric.local. Let's take note of that, guys. Should I continue? So after that,
bro, sorry for this thing, but can you do it just one last time so that
okay, I'll do it again. This is how the file is going to look like when you open it. It will be root.localhost. Then localhost. Then here it will be here it will just be localhost. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, here it will just be localhost. So yes, that was before. This is how it was before, right? This is how it will be actually before you do any edits. So the first edit you are doing, you're going to remove this word localhost. Make sure the dot stays there. That last dot is really needed, that last dot. Okay? So you're going to remove the word localhost. You put ns1, which stands for name server. But anyway, you just need to know it's NS1. NS1 dot Eric dot local dot. You can see my last dot is still there. So now here you can see we have root dot localhost, right? So this root, I'm going to change it to admin. Sorry, admin. I won't change it to admin. Then this word now it is admin.localhost. So I'm going to change localhost to Eric.local. Eric.local. So now you can see it is, take note of that last dot that you are seeing. It is admin.eric.local. This is that last dot I want you guys to be seeing it, that last dot. It's very important to be there. So after editing those first two lines, after editing them, we now come to these downer lines where you're seeing this other word here, localhost. This localhost word, where you're seeing it here. So now here, you can see it's also localhost dot. You guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
So now here, you're only also removing the word localhost and you're putting ns1 dot eric dot local. Have we seen that edit?
Yes.
Now the next edit you are doing, are you guys listening? I hope we are listening anyway. The next edit we are doing. Now this is what you hear. This is an NS record, the A records, those who did whatever, but you don't need anyway. But here we only need A records. So the next record we are going to put this 127 bichi. We are going to remove it. I think this 127001. You guys can see it, right? We are going to remove it and put an A record for our main domain. Eric dot local. For it, just end there. You don't need the other dot. The other dot only works the other side. Now, so far what we have created an A record for the name server. We have created an A record for our main domain. Now we need to create the records for the 4 hosts. You guys remember they said we need to include 4 hosts, right? Remember very well the question. It was so specific that it said those 4 host records need to have, look at this expected output part C, at least 4 host name to IP mappings. Which take it, guys. So what we are going to do there, what they just mean, they just mean to create those host records having the server IP address, the other 10.0.2.15. So we are going to come here. Are you seeing where there's this third at? Can you guys see where my cursor is? This third at here.
Yes.
We are going to remove it. We put www. All right. Then we come here where there's these 4 A's. You guys can see these 4 A's. We are going to remove the 3 A's and keep 1 A there. Stand for the A record. Then remove this colon 1. We put 10.0.2.15. Now there we have created our first host. Now you need to press enter and create your second host. So our second host, now this host is going to be www.eric.local. So the next host is going to be maybe, let me say mail. So this next host is going to be mail.eric.local. So I'll just have to keep this design in a 10.0. Yes, please.
Where did that IP come from?
It is the server IP address. If you're with us in phase 1, phase 1. If you're with us in web server, where we did IPA, look for ENP, then go to that address. This is where it is coming from. Those who are with us in part 1. Yes, that's where it's coming from. So now there, we have created our second host. So now we need to create our third host. Now our third host is going to be, you can use any name, we can say BBC. So that when we say BBC, it's going to be bbc.eric.local. So we're going to say BBC, we put our in here. Oh, sorry. We put our in here, we put our A, then we put our IP. .2.15. Yeah. So now this is our third. Now we need to create our last. So I can press enter. You can put any name here. I can say maybe FTP. You can just put anything, FTP. So it's going to be ftp.eric.local. So it's going to be here. As long as this hots, you're going to prove that their DNS configuration is working. So I put here A. I put here 10.0.2.15. Now, if you are done with the 4, then if you have asked 5, put another one. If you have asked 6, put another one. But one thing that has to be a must, guys, one thing that has to be a must are those first 3. That first A record that has ns1.eric.local, that second record that has eric.local, and that third record that has www. Remember, www stands like for the alias. If you guys remember, those who did that Fanatec home. So those first 3 are usually a must to be there. For example, they may not tell you to do any hosts or any number of hosts. If they said if they don't specify the number of hosts, they just say do a DNS configuration. Those first 3 are enough. That first record with ns1 eric bichi, that second record with eric.local, and that third record with www, those are the must-have that you need to have if they don't specify the number of hosts. Can I close the file? Because I will talk about Mazi. Can I close the file? Have we understood?
Yeah.
But
all right.
Thomas.
Yes.
Just
what
copy with
the
code, like the command.
The command that enters this file.
Yes, it has failed to run on my PC. So want to see where I made errors.
First of all, did you do the cp command, sudo cp? Did you do that command? Because it might fail if you didn't change the default web directory to our own, it might fail. Or maybe it could be an error somewhere. So the code is, let me first save this and exit. The code is this one here that you're seeing down. Sudo nano etc bind zones db dot whatever name used dot local. That is the file, that is the code that is going to enter this file where you're going to do all these edits.
Pardon?
Sudo nano, okay? It's down here, guys. If you can see it, it's down here.
Wait, Eric, Thomas. You first have to put that is a command of sudo cp.
Remember our first, wait, Wilbur. Remember, after we restarted, our first code was creating the zone file mkdir, right?
mkdir. mkdir, right? Stroke etc. db.eric local.
Yes, that is the zone. No, this is the zone that is going to open. No, Wilbur.
Yes.
Wilbur. So we did sudo mkdir etc bind zones, which created the zones web directory, right? You have that code.
First wait, it is mkdir stroke etc stroke bind stroke zone.
Yes. Then you press enter.
I thought that for me I had written.
Then you bring in the CP code. Hey.
For me I had written mkdir stroke etc stroke binds stroke db eric. It is
no.
It's just zone.
No. The mkdir is when you are creating that zone web directory only, or the web folder, or the zone folder, something like that. Then after creating the zone folder, we now do the CP code that is going to change from the default to the one we put in the lookup zone.
How do we write the CP code?
How do you write the CP code?
I don't know if, okay, guys, let me. We all installed, everything is running. We all know how we opened the lookup zone, right? So now after that, we restarted bind, right? So after restarting bind, you create the zones folder, which is this code. Let me put it here on the screen. I'm placing this code below. After restarting, you need to put that code first, right?
Yes.
Now, the next code is the CP code that is going to change the default. This CP code that you're seeing down here, it's going to change the default directory that Bind uses to save their hosts to our own. Remember this second directory? We created it in the lookup zone where we had zone type master. That CAF file, that directory is this directory you're seeing here second. Now, after that, you get that second directory, you open it, do the edits you want, which is this code, sudo nano. Where is this?
You see?
Let me just write it here, sudo nano, etc, right? Etc, bind. Are you guys together? Zones, db, Eric, db.eric. Local. So now that code.
I just have a question. Are there any spaces left when you're writing that code, or there's no spaces at all?
It's like this, eh? Yeah. Sudo space, nano space. Then we're writing that directory. There's no any space.
When you get to the stroke, etc stroke bind.
Yes. So no yes. To local, there's no space. Yeah. There's no space. So now that code is going to be opening where we'll have to do these edits. I hope everyone saw how we did the edits. That code you're seeing below there, it's going to be opening where you'll have to do those edits.
Yeah.
So can I continue to the next code?
No,
you guys should be telling me.
My CP code command, it's not working. I don't know why, but I've.
What is it saying? When you press enter, what does it say?
Cannot start, then hyphen, then etc bind.db, something like that.
No, restart.
Okay.
You restart bind. First restart bind.
Sudo apt restart.
Try to restart bind first, then you call back that code and see if it work. And make sure when you restart bind, it has really restarted and the status is running. I think that should be the issue. Maybe you forgot to restart bind when you close the other first config file of lookup zone. Every config file, because even here, since this was a config file, we need to restart bind now. I want to hear your reply if your things have worked. mkdr command. Someone is saying pardon on the mkdr command. So the first code after you have restarted bind, guys. Oh, sorry. It's going to be sudo. It is sudo mk. It's like that down there. So that one was asking. It is down there. Sudo mkdr etc bind zones. Don't forget the strokes anyway. Don't forget those strokes. I normally don't say them, but don't forget them. Sudo space mkdr space /etc /bind /zones.
Could you please display the command for the CP? I swear I made errors.
Sudo cp
where is it?
Local. So
there it is. Maybe the problem could be with the space. I don't know. Anything. As long as you have
where my problem has been, because if I don't put the spaces, I keep getting errors.
What errors are you getting?
No, if you put the spaces, then the code is correct.
Oh, okay. How about the other one, the other person? Maybe I should maybe tell you the code exactly the way it is with the spaces, right?
The code is okay. The code is okay.
It has worked, eh?
Maybe the problem was between CP and etc.
Yeah, so there is space between sudo space, CP space, then put that directory, then space. When you're bringing in this second directory, this second etc directory, put space. between local and etc, put space there. There's some kind of space needed also there. It should work. Then after that, after putting that CP code, you open now the directory, the way you're going to be doing these edits. And I said, the moment you open any config file where you're doing edits, or you're adding some code and maybe editing something, make sure you restart bind. Make sure you do restart bind. As a must, make sure you restart bind, guys. And make sure the service is running. So we shall say sudo system ctl restart bind 9. So bind 9 will restart. We check the service if it is running. Sudo system ctl status bind 9. Oh, sorry. And you can see my bind 9 is working well. So now, after ensuring it's working well, we can move on to the other things, to other commands. So the other commands, guys, is just one command remaining, just one more thing remaining. Then we are done with bind 9. I'm waiting for the other person who said their CP didn't work. Sagara Mule Kamaiga.
Still, it failed.
Okay. What could be the problem?
I don't know the problem, but I have put the exact command and I've been following. So I don't.
Why you just share the screenshot in group? You share the screenshot in group. What about Gambia?
Yes, first share that screenshot in group. We see the command you're putting. Maybe there could be an error, could be somewhere. It is very small actually.
Okay.
I will be able to see it here, chap. Another thing, guys, feel free to ask, see the kitchen, so feel very free to ask Bambi. Vanga nange njigira nkumwe. Mwinza okumbuza kyembadde simanyi.
The word you wrote, is it status bind 9?
Yes, sudo system ctl status bind 9, yeah. Okay. To make sure it's running. Before we head to the last code. Now, the code we are going to do should be the last code that to configure DNS. Then the other codes will be to confirm that DNS is working. We're just left with one config file we need to open.
We have sent the pic in the group.
Okay. I'll be seeing it. 1 second. Did you create the zone directory?
Give
me 1 second.
There is no directory.
Did you create MKD? How did you create your directory? Let me see the code that created your directory. That is the problem. The MKDR code. I want to see your MKDR code. Because they're saying etc bind does not. They're saying etc bind does not exist. So that means that directory you must have made an error somewhere very small.
Yes.
Because this code looks very okay. Sudo cp. This code looks very okay.
How did he write the code for MKDR?
Yeah, that's what I want to look at. The MKDR code. Maybe you wrote bind 9 instead of bind. Maybe you wrote zone instead of zones. I mean, just a very simple error. Because this one here, especially etc bind zones stroke db eric.loc, it looks very fine.
By the way,
I don't want my terminal to.
Like to my suggestion, like since they had told us to create the DNS host records, to my understanding, or like to tell you some research I know. To my side, I could rather first write the DNS records instead of first writing the BBC stuff. Okay, like that stuff, yeah. So I first identify the like some of the types of the records. For example, we are having the DNS records. That is the name server one. I write its record. So I go on the file server. I write its record. I go on the www, that is the World Web, with the www, yeah. I go on the database like that. So I first create those records. Then the others, for example, the BBC, the FTTP, yeah, they'll come next.
Yeah, the www, those ones.
Yeah.
That's very okay to do. That's very okay.
So they have to first understand what are the sum of the types for the records.
For the records.
Have to know that the DNS server, it is represented by the NS1. They have to know that the file server, it is going to be represented by files. They have to know that the database is going to be represented by the DB. They have to know that the mail is going to be represented by the mail. They have to know that the World Web, like that, to my understanding. Then lastly...
So, yes, I understand your point. But that point, I would say it works when they have specified to create those exact host records that represent maybe mail, that represent the alias www, that represents the file server FTP. But in this question for the coursework, especially the one we are doing, they just say to create NF4 host records. So for as long as the name that is coming before the main domain becomes there and then host record. No matter whether it is www, whether it is mail, whether it is this, but just that for understanding, in the question they may specify, make sure you create a host record from email, which is mail. Make sure you, so yeah, understand that. That point is very valid. Bring it out like that.
But do you know that some people do not know that when you create the DNS server, it is represented by the
NS1. This person who has this error, let me see, sudo mkdir, blah, 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 etc, bind zones, then you bring in the CP code. I don't know why your thing is really not working. How about the rest? Did your CP code work?
I think what it failed.
And also really what you're doing wrong. The problem that may be even in the first codes, that's what I may not know. I don't know why the things are not working really. Because I can see the MKDR looks okay.
But maybe it was all mukolera. Incha we can also but if he was good,
I was suggesting.
Are there any people who are facing this same problem that is facing?
Not really.
It could be a general problem, Nasimani.
Yeah, let him inbox you after maybe. Then you take him process.
Okay. This person, you're gonna have to inbox me. I'm going to inbox you. Then after the call, you're going to inbox me.
Yeah, I think it would help all of us because over there, and yet we have a lot.
Okay. I've texted you. You will tap me after the call. We shall see how we can fix it, guys. We shall see how we can fix it. You who faced this error, yeah? We shall see how we can fix it. So, where were we? After now creating that last config file of ours where we put the records and making sure our bind is restarted, making sure it is running, blah, 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 and all that, we are now going to, remember, DNS uses these host records to resolve whatever domains you want to resolve. But then, these host records we have put in our file, we need to we need to also declare them in the host config file, in the main host config file that DNS is going to use. Now, some people may end here, but the problem is that when you end here, let me show you something. The problem is that when you end here and you don't declare this, the host in the main host config file, which we are going to see, DNS will not be configured. For example, if I bring in Carl, if I bring in Carl HTTP // maybe I bring in www.localhost www.eric.local. So for right now, this host is not going to work, or even eric.local is not going to work. Why? Because we need to declare those hosts. We need to declare host records in the main host config file. So what do I mean by that? So next step here, after you are bind running, you're going to say sudo. We're going to open the main host config file where we're going to put this DNS host records that we just put in the other config files for www, the main one, the FTP, the BBC, the what else do you do there? Mail. So we're going to say sudo nano etc/etc/hosts. So when you open this, okay, I had configured some. Let me remove this. I want to show you by default how the file will look like. When you open that file, guys, the code. Okay, I'm faster. Let me first go back. Yeah, I've understood. Let me first go back. This is the code: sudo nano /etc/hosts. We have gotten the code, guys. So when you open this, config file, this is how it is going to look like by default. There's only going to be a record for localhost and a record for Linux system. Those are the only two records that are going to be there for now. But we need to add our records that we just added to the other side. The 4 records that we just added to the other side. The main, www, the FTP, then there was also, I think, BBC. Then there was also, I think things were the ones. I think it's understood. So we just add them below here. As I've said, by default, this is how the file is going to look like by default. If you're in the second shift, you might find for you people have already opened it. You have to delete what they have put there and only remain with the file like this, so that you put your own. So now, how do we put our own? We are going to start first of all with the main domain, which is eric.local, right? So we're going to say on the left side, we are going to put the IP, the server IP address. Remember, DNS records have to point to the IP mappings. This is why in the question you saw something like those who did bind, which they did. You saw something here in the expected output at part C. They said those four host records you created, they have to be pointing to IP mappings. So that's what we are doing in this host config file that we have just opened. We shall just go below here, below this Linux record. We put our server IP address 10. On the left side, we put the server IP address 10.0.2.15. We skip just a small space there. Then we put eric.local, which was our main domain. Yeah, then press enter. We put another one. 10. The way we put them, remember, we are getting these ones from the other side. If you guys remember where we put them the other side. .2.15 space. Now we begin with www. This was the first host, yeah? .eric. .local. We put another one. 10.0.2.15. Then we say mail.eric.local. And guys, another thing, as I said, people might have different methods of doing bind. But me, I'm just giving you the method I use that works for me. But other people might have different methods they use to configure bind, But this, for me, is the method I use. So the next one was, I think, I'll put back 10.0.2.15. Then I put Yeah.
FTP.
We put FTP also.
Yes, as FTP. Yes.
Okay. So shall put ftp.eric.local. Then put 10.0.2.15. www. There was also BBC, right?
Yes.
Eric.local. I think that was all, right? The main www mail FTP. Yeah, I think that was all. After doing that, save and close. No, they don't need to be in order at all. As long as you declare all of them, that is the main point. You have to declare all of them. So you can save and close. Control X, Y, Enter. Remember, after doing something in the config file, what do? We restart the service. Don't forget that step. Restart the service. After making an edit in its config file, restart that service. Sudo system. I hope everyone has understood how we have gotten there. Sudo system CTL restart bind 9.
Bind 9.
Oh, sorry. The spelling of restart. Yes, please.
Why do you use the same IP address?
That is because that IP address is our server IP address that is running on our local PC right now. Like it is our server IP address. That's why if you did the take home
use different IPs?
No, you can't. Okay. As I said, there are some methods where you can use different IPs, but I've tried those methods and they are hard. That's what I can assure you. Where you have to use different IPs. So what I would say, as long as you remember how we got this server IP, if you remember how we got it, you just need to use only that. You don't need to use different IPs. Jovia, I have a question. Are you still asking? Or it was you asking? I don't know. I will make sure. Wait, that person who was asking, did they answer your question?
I think
Thank you.
Okay. I will check if after restarting bind, I check if it is running sudo system CTL status bind 9.
Status.
Sorry. Bind is running. It's okay. I actually did. Now bind is running. Now we need to see if we can access our website using those host codes we have just created. Now, instead of curl, where we said curl http colony / then we put was IP 10. Before we actually check, there's another question I want to show you here in the coursework. They asked something about lookup, if I can remember. Anyway, I think this was just to increase the max. But as long as your website can be accessed on using the hosts or bind the way they first said make sure properly save and validate DNS configuration, guys. Now DNS configuration is now just instead of IP, use those host records. Use those host records that were given to you. Yes, that's validating DNS. Then after using host records and they are all working, they also here need more proof. Now, NS lookup is just like more proof of DNS configuration, just a more proof that DNS configuration is working. So how do we do NS lookup or dig? So we're going to first see if our DNS is really working. We're going to first test if DNS is working. And as I said, instead of using curl, those were with us in part 1, instead of using curl HTTP localhost, remember this code is going to be giving us our website, and also this code where we use an IP is going to be giving us our website, right? But then after doing DNS, instead of using an IP, we need to use those 3 codes. For example, start with the first host records, which is the main domain, eric.local, right? So you can see, guys, eric.local is also giving us our website. So if I try maybe www, remember the first time it had refused, if you guys remember, it had refused somewhere. Eric before DNS. So if I try www.eric.local, it's also going to give us our website. This means even the hosts are working. If I try FTP, FTP is also going to give us our website. If I try, there was also BBC, right?
Yes, BBC.
If I try BBC, you can DNS configuration. Now, there's also using NS lookup. So NS lookup, you just say NS lookup. Sorry, no space. It's just one word, NS lookup. Before I go to NS lookup, have you guys understood what DNS has done?
Yes.
Okay, I hope everyone has understood what exactly.
You can pardon on what it has done. Like
what it has done. Remember before, we are accessing our website using only the IP and localhost. And if you are with us, you realize that before we did DNS, when we put in this code of www.eric.local, it gave us errors. If you remember very well, it gave us here an error. But after doing that whole DNS configuration, now you see that when we bring back the www.eric.local, it is giving us our website. So here, DNS has successfully translated or changed the IP to using a name. So to access this website on my browser, I just need to go and put in http://w.eric.local instead of using an IP address. Because people in the real world are not used to using these IP addresses. They're used to using like real names like www.something, this.something, this.something. That's why DNS is important. Should we continue to NS lookup?
If I'm to ask, NS lookup does the same thing as we have done it. Does it do the same?
No. NS lookup is just more proof that our DNS configuration is working.
Oh, okay.
But of course, for Max, because if you see that question, they asked both. So for Max, you need to screenshot both. Just for Max, you need to do both. So we shall say NS lookup. Just that for it will bring different output. It won't be the output to bring won't be the website. You're going to see the output it's going to bring. We just need to say NS lookup, then we call maybe Eric. Okay. Now when you press enter, you can see now our main domain. You can see the address it is running on. The name is eric.local and the address is running on 10.0.2.15. That satisfies the NS lookup. So if I say maybe NS lookup www, it should also be running on the same address 10.0.2.15 www. You can see it's also running on the same. If I maybe use email, which was mail.eric, you can see also. But you can see NS lookup is trying to tell you here that these other subhosts of the www mail, they are all under eric.local, which is more confirmation that our DNS is working. If I can try here, maybe, what was another one? BBC. So guys, anyway, that is it. Any questions, guys, before we go to database?
Okay.
So DNS changing no backup.
Kati DNS mweyo yonna byosomeseza abaweddeyo bawali ebirala.
Abaweddeyo. As long as the final step is making sure that website you can access it without writing localhost and IP. You can access it by writing the host, not localhost or IP. You can now access it by writing the hosts you created, www or maybe the main domain. Or take it there. That is all DNS. That's like the major output. Accessing your website using a name, not an IP. The name is the hosts you created. Together with database.
Abako kupadde
Yes.
wayingizaamu wa www wabadde in then notekako IP address.
Agamba that part of replacing.
After
Where we edited, it is okay. I'll open the file. Sudo nano. That is the zone going to config file. Sudo nano etc bind zones db.eric.local. Sudo nano eric.local. So this is the file you are saying. Eh?
The thing that you did after this one.
After this, so after this, what we did, we restarted. After this file, making sure after doing these edits, those who are with me, guys, what did we do after restarting? After doing these edits, we restarted bind. Of course, you have to make sure you restart bind. After restarting bind, and make sure it is running. Right? Are we together? You go now to the main hosts. The sudo. Is it sudo nano? Sudo nano.
etc. Sudo nano.
Yes. But you go here. So you are sure bind is running. When you bind a name is the moment it's something with Apache. The moment you leave a config file of a service, that service is gonna stop man. Restart it, blah blah blah, and all that. So now here, this is where we added these five hosts you are seeing with the same IP. Eric.local, www.eric, mail, vici, FTP, BBC. And these ones are the same exact ones. We have the other side. I hope you're seeing how things are connecting. These are the same 5 hosts. We put the other side. Any questions on bind? After that, sudo systemctl restart bind, make sure it is running, and test your things if they are working. Curl, HTTP, www, like that. Our number, you know about Jimanzi, air bind. And remember, guys, we're doing this in 2 hours, so you have to be also a bit fast in the typing and all that, you know. Tugende ku database wa mukoya.
Tugende ku database, man.
So,
yeah.
So, database. So, database has 2 versions. So, those who did database in coursework, you realize that the version they wanted was both database on Ubuntu, database on in Docker, like containerized MySQL. So, what I'm meaning, guys, is let me open here the coursework. For those who did database. Where is database? Now those who did database, you must have had a paper like this. So those who did database, you guys actually did 2 things. Did web server and database, I think. So we're done with web server. We're not going to go through that. They're saying, I don't know, people were saying that you needed PHP. Guys, we don't need PHP. We are networkers at a coding age. We didn't need PHP in this question. I don't know. Some people came out saying that we needed PHP. I don't know what PHP guys were doing in this question. Part 2 was configure a database server using MySQL in Docker. All you needed to do was create MySQL DB using Docker. That is all you needed to do here. Part 2. Then part 3, create a sample database for the organization. So part 3 was creating a database directly on Ubuntu. Let me clarify the difference. 2, now doing this 2 and 3 qualifies the question of saying doing a database server, because database server has 2 versions. Part 2 is creating a database using Docker. In Ubuntu, you're creating a database using Docker in Ubuntu. But part 3, you are directly creating the database in Ubuntu without